Hey, what is good? What is good? What is good, beautiful people? Of course, you know who I is, the good doctor, Dr. Mike, back again, once again, with another classic video for you guys today. A truthful video at that fact. But if this is your first time listening to a Dr. Mike TV video, by all means, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you notify yourself. Check out all of the links listed in the description area below. Ebooks, Patreon, PayPal, everything that you will ever need. Emails, social media platforms will be listed in the link in the description area below. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to speak some truth that we have talked about before, but today we're going to talk about the ugly truth as to why Filipinas choose to date foreigners. To me, this is the ugly truth. It is my opinion and my opinion only, but I believe that this opinion is shared by many. But we shall get into it as we speak and rip this some gun off like a band-aid. I didn't want to curse there, okay? But let's go ahead and be honest with ourselves. This is something that I've heard that has really made me feel a certain kind of way, but ultimately, to an extent, I do agree. To an extent. Let me make that abundantly clear. But in the past, I have heard that the reasons why Filipinos choose to date foreigners is because the only types of women that foreigners can get are quote unquote secondhand women, or the women in the Philippines that the Filipino guys do not want. Now, I don't like people who say that, but to an extent, I feel where they're coming from. And let me explain. I was having a conversation with some friends the other day, and I often ask them, why exactly do you choose to date foreigners? These are people I went to school with and stuff like that. And she was like, no reason in particular, nothing that they could come up with. So I was like, how come you don't date Filipino men? And literally all of them said that Filipino men are just not interested in me, or not as interested in me as foreigner men are, which is why, to some extent, I can almost agree when I hear people say, not necessarily the secondhand women or the reject women, but sometimes the women that we are into, some Filipino guys are not into. Again, I don't know what a Filipino guy's type is. It's not up to me to determine what a Filipino's guy type is. All I know is what is my type, what I find to be attractive, and what I believe what other foreigner men would find to be attractive. So, in essence, when I hear that, I think that your average Filipino woman chooses to be with foreigner, or finds themselves with foreigner men, because most of the time their guys just aren't checking for them. Their men just aren't looking for them in that particular aspect. Now, let me give a quick example of what I mean. maybe Filipina is a little bit on the chubby side, okay? Now, your average Filipino man doesn't really like chubby girls. Sometimes they'll say, chubby to them is fat. But to your average foreigner, chubby is thick. You understand the difference between fat and thick. A curvaceous woman, per se. Men of my complexion, and probably men that are foreigners, are okay with a woman who has curves. You understand? So with that being said, wherein her man, or her kind of guy, or her local guy may say, nah, I don't want you. Somebody such as myself, or somebody, another foreigner would be like, nah, you good to me, girl. And, and they compliment her on her curves, wherein her own men don't compliment her on those particular aspects or features of hers that she kind of embraced, or has embraced, or chooses to embrace. That makes them gravitate more towards foreigner men than her own men, because on average, and being honest, most of the time their men just do not check for them like that. So in a sense, it kind of relates to the reasons why you would say a foreigner or somebody from a Western world chooses to date a Filipina, vice versa. Maybe their women don't check for them, or maybe they are no longer interested in their women from their own home country. Maybe they've gotten sick and tired of them. So it's kind of like finding common ground in an uncommon area. Because again, I will tell you straight up, I have not turned my back on women from the West, okay? I will be abundantly clear. I have not turned my back on women in the West, because there are some good. It just seems like the bad outweigh the good. And I do believe, to an extent, Filipina women have not given up on Filipino men. It just seems that the people that are giving them the most attention in that particular aspect seems to be foreign men. Now, again, you throw in the aspect of money and the opportunity to go to another country and all of that stuff. That's definitely a bonus and a benefit. But I will be honest with you, they would probably rather be with their own men than foreigners. And again, this is just my thought process. This is just the way that I think. I believe that they would wholeheartedly want to be with their own men if they could, but simply because their men are not necessarily checking for them, they find themselves gravitating more towards foreigners. And then once they find themselves in this particular area or realm, they start to like it, they start to enjoy it, and they start to realize what they can get out of it. Which is kind of funny to me, because I've noticed that maybe some of the local men may not be too happy or excited to see foreigners come around, because now all of a sudden the women that they were no longer checking for, we get them, I guess, to an extent. I'll just say we get them. Then they're kind of upset about it. It kind of just comes full circle to an extent. But you realize how many women there are in the country, and how the country, like I said, has women in abundance. And most of the guys, they probably have no trouble getting with women as well. So they're not really concerned. But I just don't like to hear the thought process that, oh, you foreigners are only getting women that the local guys reject, or the ones that are not wanted by the local guys. I don't like to hear that, but to an extent, I agree with it, because I can honestly say that there are some beautiful reject women, if that's what you want to call it. There are quite a few beautiful reject women that I would gladly accept. You feel me? And I think that a lot of my men can feel where I'm coming from for this one. But I feel like that's the ugly truth, man. The real reason why your average Filipina finds themselves with foreigners is simply because, just like in the United States, when a man's not being checked by their own women, these are women that are not being checked by their own men. And then they're starting to realize that the foreigners are coming in abundance, and there's a lot more foreigners coming now than there were before. So now that opens the playing field for them to probably seek out, look for them. And then, of course, you got relatives who may have dated foreigners, and they're talking them into it. And, it's a beautiful thing. And I can see if so-and-so has a friend or a cousin that's interested or looking. Because I'm telling you, when I got to the Philippines, bro, let me tell you the truth. When I first got to the Philippines, I was like every other day somebody was trying to hook me up with somebody. It was the craziest thing. Like, oh, I have a cousin. She's very single. She's very available, huh? And everybody's trying to throw their cousin or their sister or their, niece or daughter or whatever at me. Throwing their daughter at the foreigner now all of a sudden. So you get where I'm coming from. But I guess from the man standpoint, the Filipino men standpoint, it does seem to be a bit weird that they would reject a lot of these women, because I do think that many of them naturally are beautiful in their own particular way. So kind of my own thoughts on that particular topic. You can add more to this one, but that was kind of the focal point of the entire topic for today. All right, please add some more down in the description area below. Like, dislike, let me know what's going on. Let me know how you feel. And with that being said, the good doc is officially out. At least nako paalam, which means we're going now. Bye-bye. As always, love you guys. Mahal kita. Mabuhay. Peace.